Hello, everybody. Repentance on Switch? Yep. I believe the reason why it slowed down is because Nicholas is trying to release it simultaneously on all consoles. So they're holding them all for that release. We don't have a release date for it. At least I haven't been informed on a release date for it. I've been told before the end of the year for retail as well as digital. It's the same with the patch as well. I've been told that it's essentially finished, but whenever Vin gets to a certain point where he feels like it's done, someone informs him of another bug that he wasn't aware of, so he has to dig back around and fix it without breaking other things. So I believe that's kind of what's going on there, but it'll happen eventually. The only thing I don't want is any expectation of like, oh, it's taken so long, that means there's more content. No, it does not mean that at all. Vin has been taking a bit of a break. He's not been going full hardcore on it, and don't expect there to be, just because there's been a lot of time that's passed, there's going to be tons more content. The goal is to have it as fixed up as possible. When does the Four Souls expansion come out? So where I currently am in Four Souls world is, and it's not really me as much as everybody else working, but we're essentially 99% done with all the cards. And by we, I mean 7-Nut. And I have to do my 1% pass. So I will go through all the cards and make sure that they are mostly text is moved perfectly to my liking, and all the icons are correct. And then we will ship that, upload it to a new spoiler site so you guys can all see it. And then we'll have like a week and a half while the printer's doing the test print to do any edits. So everybody can just go crazy on the spoiler site, tell us what's wrong, tell us what won't work, tell us what's worded incorrectly, etc., which will hopefully be minimal. And we can update accordingly, and then that can be finished. The box itself, Akio, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, is doing the big box. It looks amazing. Him and I have been going through and trying to hide as many little fun bits and pieces all over the box, inside the box and out. Some little hidden gems here and there for you lore lookers. It looks really nice. And we have that nearly finished. We're working on a few other bits and pieces that need to be done. And the only thing I think that's not finished is the poop. The poop for the blue baby was not to my liking. It was it didn't look like a poop to me. It looked weird, like a shoe or something. So that one's going back in and making it more poop like. And once that's finished, we'll basically have them all done and start production. And production will take a long time. I don't expect us to start shipping until the anniversary of the Kickstarter. It'd be nice if we ship before that, but things are actually slowing down and becoming more expensive. I know Javon's losing his mind. Every time we talk, he goes, you know what it costs now to freight it over here? And it keeps going up exponentially. The cost of paper went up by like four times what it was when we originally got it priced. So it's good that the Kickstarter did as well as it did, because everything is going further and further up as far as production goes. But yeah. So the goal is the anniversary of the Kickstarter. We start shipping. People are asking about birthrights. Birthrights are finished. Have you ever thought about putting the original Isaac on consoles? No. And I would never do it because it's garbage. It barely runs on PC. Why is Isaac naked? Is clothing evil? Okay, so the reason why Isaac is naked is because I wanted him to feel as vulnerable as possible. Kind of in the same way that Meat Boy had no skin. Isaac is naked primarily for theme. I wanted it to feel like naked and afraid. I wanted, like, there's nothing protecting him. He is completely exposed. So it's more of a symbolic thing than anything else. And once I had that I knew I wanted to do that, I had to write it into the story, and I just made it so she took away his clothes. It seemed like a child abuse thing in some way, shape, or form. So that's why it's there. But it's mostly thematic, kind of abstract, I guess, in a way. You're not really supposed to question it. He's a naked kid crying. Isaac is naked for the same reason that he's his tears are the things that are protecting him. He utilizes his sadness as an offense or a defense, and he's very vulnerable. Is the lost or tainted lost getting nerfs or buffs, or not getting burfs? They are not being reworked. No. Why is there so much poop in Isaac? There's so much poop in Isaac for many reasons. Number one, I suffer from bowel issues. Being in the bathroom and poop in general was a recurring theme. It's a recurring theme for everybody. Everybody's doing it. But I was in the bathroom a lot. And I always had horrible stomach problems as a kid. So there was something true to that. The second, and maybe more important because of where I was at the time, when I made The Binding of Isaac, I was watching a lot of 80s satanic panic propaganda. There's a lot of people who don't know. There's a lot of like the surface level of that stuff was like, you play D&D, you're going to kill yourself, you're going to try to cast real spells in real life, and Satan's going to take over your soul, you're going to join a cult, you're going to sacrifice babies. And as it goes, the recurring theme of sacrificing babies, ritualistic child abuse, and eating feces was always there. The deeper that you went, every single person who said they were in a satanic cult said, oh yeah, we killed babies and we ate shit. So I thought, I have to put that in there. it's needed. It's somehow synonymous. It's because poop is the most vile thing that comes out of a human being. In a lot of people's mind, that's the one thing that it's like representative of Satan and what he would, if Jesus is about purity, and then Satan's about shit. So there was some sort of like abstract darkness to poo-poo that I thought was very interesting, so I decided to put it in. Was Isaac originally meant to be a family book given some of the concept art? Okay. So I showed some concept art of original designs for Isaac and a bunch of other characters. Some of you know that a lot of the times I'll draw character designs 10, 15 years ago, and they'll linger, or they will change form as time passes, and eventually they'll find their way into my games. And Isaac and Isaac's mom, before they were Isaac and Isaac's mom, were part of a kid's book that do you remember if I had a name for that kid's book?
What? No.
I was working on a kid's book about a big fat mom whose the father went missing, and the little boy has to go out and get the mom food because she couldn't leave the house because she was so big. And it was one of those books where it lists all this crazy stuff, kind of rhyming, like all the crazy stuff he needs to bring and that she requests, until he fills her, and the whole house is full of her. And then she barfs, and she barfs out everything in a mixed up order. So if she had eaten a goat and a hat at separate times when she ate it, then the goat would come out, like maybe it would be a dapper looking goat. You know, there's some combination of the things she ate being mixed up, and they all come out. And eventually at the end, the dad pops out, and that was like the first thing that she consumed. And then she says she's hungry. And that was my kid's book. And I like the characters, and I kind of like the just the bare bones theme and story to it. So I decided later, when designing actual Isaac, to kind of use that. But I never finished that kid's book. It was just from sketches, and I might do it one day. Delirium rework when? Probably never at this point.
Beast?
When will online co-op be finished? It will never be finished. It was never supposed to happen. It was something that realistically it wasn't ever going to be polished enough for it to be a selling point. So I think for the most part, Vin left the pieces in there in case modders want to do whatever they're going to do. Somebody like him can take over and do something with it. Ask fun questions. Ask like lore questions. Like do I have ADHD? Well, so when I was young, they said it was hyperactivity, And I was diagnosed as hyperactive, and I was quite hyperactive. In fact, I was terrible. I was completely uncontrollable. I was constantly in trouble, and I couldn't get my shit together. Is Satan also mom? Yes. In fact, if you reverse Satan's audio and then speed it up, it's just mom. It's just mom backwards, slowed down. Is mom bald? You know, I actually think mom is pretty patchy. I mean, she wears wigs.
Oh, I was thinking down there.
Playing all this lore back in the Flash game. For the most part, yeah. Lore and lore is theme to me. And for the most part, all that stuff was there from the kind of the beginning. Certain things changed. So the way I like to do art in general, because the stuff that I'm doing is interacting with you, and then you are giving me feedback. So it's kind of this conversation. So when I put something out, I get feedback on what other people interpret. And sometimes I think of those things and think, oh, like that's an interesting take on that. And then I try to see it from that perspective. And if it makes sense and is true to what I was thinking, I think, oh, well, if that happened, how would that work? And so a lot of times there is an established lore, and then I think, oh, wouldn't it be a little more interesting if I took it from a different perspective? Because a lot of people were talking in the beginning, and I think there was like a few random people that I saw saying something about, you know, maybe mom's mentally ill. Like, is mom the bad person? Like, maybe she's just crazy and it's, you know, she's not the bad person, or maybe something happened to her. What's the reasons behind these things? And I thought I wasn't doing mom enough justice. I wasn't painting a good enough picture of the situation, especially after the ending of Bumbo, for those who've seen that, and you should. I'm trying to paint a picture that doesn't make everybody this two-dimensional person who's just, you know, the mom's just a villain, you know, and dad's just this and Isaac's just that. So I get feedback and criticism, I guess, in some odd way, and I adapt, and that's one of the things I thought was interesting that I read comments-wise of maybe mom isn't as bad as she seems, or maybe Isaac's evil, or, you know, that sort of stuff too. And I, you know, what made you finally cave in for co-op repentance? I mean, quite honestly, Vin just showed me. So this is the terrible thing, and this is 100% true. Tyrone and the guys already had that in the game originally, and they showed it to me, and I kind of alphaed like an idiot and said, no, we can't do that because two Isaacs don't exist. We have to do some sort of imaginary friend. And in my mind, I don't know why I was so resistant to it. It just felt like I couldn't do it. And this was very early on. It had to be a baby. Like, it had to be a co-op baby, and it had to be like jump in. I don't know. I admit that it was not the right choice. And then when it was officially modded in to Anti-Birth, the proof was kind of in the pudding there, and it was kind of like, fuck. Well, I have to do it. So that's why it's there, because it was better than what I had in mind. And the lore aspect was, you never want to sacrifice fun for sticking to lore. That's what I learned. So I learned from that. Will Delirium ever receive alt path forms? No, probably not. Okay. Why was Guppy decapitated? Okay, so the pieces of the cat situation actually came from a story when I was younger, where I had two cats, and the cats would bring home, and see, now I know the answer to this because we saw it happen. The cats would bring home decapitated bunnies, and it was so fucking weird. And sometimes they would just bring home the feet, or they would just bring home the back end, and it looked like there was surgical precision with the pieces. And I was like, how fucking weird was that? And I remember as a kid, I lived like way out in kind of like the woods when I was young for a moment in time, and it creeped me the fuck out. And the place that we lived was like an abandoned, an abandoned birthing house from like the 60s. So they do underwater birthing. So they have this really shallow pool. But the way that the house, and it was super rundown, and only half of it existed, and the other place was like in shambles. So we lived on one side of the house, and it was creepy. And there was all these weird trails going to different places, and it was very, culty in a weird way. And somehow those things all mixed together, and it seemed really wicked. And I mashed those things together with Guppy because I thought it was super creepy, the idea of like pieces of an animal. We later found out our cat Moxie would bring home animals, and we would see how she would consume them. And the first thing an animal does
I have a picture.
Is eat the brain. And the way that they eat it, they completely devour the head to the point of where it looks like it's just been like snipped with scissors.
She bring more.
Someone asked me my favorite piece of lore is. So this is the thing, guys. This game is so intertwined with my 42 years of living that I can't pick a piece of lore out, especially stuff that you wouldn't know, unless you approach me with the thing and you hold it up and you say, what the fuck's this? And then I can tell you a story about it. I posted pictures on Twitter about the Samson Project. The Samson Project was Isaac's first iteration. It was this little naked kid with one hair who would shoot lasers out of his hands and fight stuff. And one of the bosses was the Duke of Flies, and there was going to be a bunch of other ones. And one of them was like the Meat Ninja and stuff like that, which would become Meat Boy. And at the top of the page, I wrote that the progression was going to be like the docks, the hospital, blah, 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 blah. That was before Isaac was Isaac. That was so fucking long ago. That was like 2006. So that was, 5 years, nearly 5 years before Isaac was even start development on it. So I don't know what the fuck I was talking about there. But I can tell you right now that the docks in the hospital has been written as the chapters in probably at least 5 or 6 different games that I've never released. So it's a common thing. One day will the docks in the hospital... Well, the hospital I did in Meat Boy, but the docks was supposed to be a Gish level as well. Is Isaac dead hallucinating during the beast ending? Well, he's hallucinating and dying through the whole game. Spoiler. Will Host ever be remade? No. Design-wise, I think I'm most proud of the beast fight. I think it's just a very good, fun boss fight. I like the dogma fight too. I like this whole sequence. Did I actually read the whole Bible? I didn't. But I was in catechism for 7 years, so I basically had the whole Bible read to me. That sucked. Fucking horrible. I grew up Catholic, and I had to go to Catholic school, after school Catholic school. I stopped at confirmation. That's when I stopped going. But that was a lot of years learning about the Bible, which I learned the majority about. And of course I did read passages and sections of the Bible to understand things that I was referencing more. A definitive hint on what Isaac 2 will be lore-wise, like the purgatory ending. But yeah, I would say every ending in Isaac is a reference to Isaac 2 and how I would connect those things. Will alt path floors be added to Greed? I think we talked about it. I don't know why they weren't. Maybe eventually. What do the endings where Isaac wakes up from the red chest in a ghastly world with a shadow figure behind him, and Isaac shown roaming a dull-colored ghastly landscape from ending 17? I don't know. Those are mysterious endings that have no answer. They are there to provoke imagination and make you wonder. And maybe they will connect to something else eventually. You never know. Are all your games in the same universe? I definitely try to pull them more together because I think it's kind of interesting to connect the dots. Eugenics will tie in a lot of things. I can't say that anything Meat Boy wise after I'm no longer there has anything to do with what I'm doing. In fact, I could probably get in trouble if I said that. So I'm not. But originally the Meat Boy world was part of the rest of everything. But I guess retroactively that's been revoked, been rewritten. Have you actually thought about the lore very much other than when you're being asked about it? I know exactly what's going on and why. Yes, everything is completely thought out and written. Most of the stuff is sketched up on paper, and I show it to you guys. And everything else is based on, real life. So I know how things work. Isaac's dad's name is Abraham. Is the crying head inside the gate Isaac or a random crying head? Everything is Isaac. All the characters in the game are Isaac in some way, shape, or form. And if you don't see it on the outside, they dwell in the inside. And I took the opportunity to show that not only in the gate, but also in the Mask of Infamy. You saw Possessor mode. Possessor mode is something that I was playing around with. And I thought would be something interesting we could fiddle around with in the future, and that's all I'll say about that. The idea for horse pills came from that there really are horse pills. My mom would take a lot of pills, and she would always be like my childhood was like, I can't deal with these horse pills, and it just stood out to me. These horse pills are so huge you can barely swallow them, and there's just like giant fucking fat pills, and I thought we need to do horse pills, and we can just make it double. Or more than double than a regular pill. Edmund Gaming. What the fuck? Edmund. They're asking me to say Edmund Gaming.
I saw that.
What's that mean?
I feel like
no. It's with a question mark. Edmund Gaming.
Yeah.
Edmund Gaming.
Stop. Can you say that? It's. I didn't want to say it because I feel like it's like something's gonna happen.
Like Edmund Gaming will come out of the of the monitor and fucking start cutting me up. Well, I'm not going to say it again. I don't have any information on Dark Bum. I just thought it would be cute to do a little bumbo. All the bums are based off of Bum Friend, which was this guy who was handicapped. He was in a wheelchair, and he came by our office, and I think he had cerebral palsy, and he would just like wave at us and like ask if it was okay if he slept back behind our office, and we'd say yes. None of these things stopped him from doing a lot of drugs. and then possibly shitting in the parking lot. Oh well, spoiler. She told my day. In the end, he shit in the parking lot. No, there's a whole bunch of things that connect that, but Danielle's already told the end, so we'll just move on from that. I got to it. The guy shit in the parking lot. We called him Bum Friend, and he shit in the parking lot. He did it angrily, though. My sister and he did it as revenge. What is the lore behind Brimstone? This is a good one. And why Blood Laser? So, one of the first games I ever made was called Carious Weltling. In fact, I think it was the first game I ever released on Newgrounds. It was an official game. And the game revolved around this little thing called a weltling, which was like this, looked like a featherless, legless bird that would bounce around on its lower body, very fleshy. Its eyes were sewn shut. Stitched up. Yeah. And it would shoot out blood. And so it'd be always using up its life. But then you could like eat stuff. You eat maggots and then you gain your life back so you can keep shooting. And you could also hold the button down and then shoot a brimstone. Blood blast of blah, I won't tell you what Dide's note says because you do know for sure. Most of you know what it says already because you've heard it. Go ahead. Was Isaac a gamer? He tried to be.
Saw how that ended.
Any plans for an Isaac movie? I'd be lying if I said I hadn't been approached at least 3 times, different people saying that they want to turn Isaac into a show, and I've only semi-entertained one of them because most of the time I'll get a call for something like that. Even in the Meat Boy days, same thing. And the first sign of things aren't going to go the way that they think they are is when they say, I love the blinding of Isaac. I can just very much tell that they don't know what the hell's going on. They just, their kid told them something was cool and they're going to, jump on and see, or they saw Kickstarter numbers or something. Honestly, I wouldn't be against doing some sort of Binding of Isaac miniseries, but it would be nothing like the game. Except for, I'd probably have the characters and stuff. If I did something like that, I'd want to be a major part of it. And the only way for me to be down with something like that, because Isaac doesn't translate to a linear story in any way, shape, or form, but it could be a world and it could be completely fucking ludicrous and chaotic if it was. And I'm down with it if there's no rules. We can do whatever the hell we wanted, and maybe it's puppets or something. Was the pumpkin mask? So the pumpkin mask. That's some lore for you. Do you remember? Do you know what they're talking about? The pumpkin mask. You got to be digging in the files for that. So those of you who don't know, one of the missing items that wasn't ever had anything coded to it in the Flash game.
I don't know what that is.
Was the pumpkin mask. It was supposed to be something that we put in for Halloween, and we ended up doing it for Christmas because I turned it into the Krampus head.
Oh, here it is, with one good and one bad fact. That's why I can remember it, because it sounds
Describe
weird.
yourself. Yeah, I'm going to start with the bad fact.
Okay.
Once, randomly with a friend of mine, shot out all the windows of somebody's house and completely destroyed their shed.
As a child.
For absolutely no reason other than we just did it. The good fact, one time when I was in school, the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom, and I pooped my pants. So I got revenge, and every single day for the rest of that summer, it was summer school, for the rest of the summer school months, I pissed into a cardboard box in the back. It was the lost and found. I pissed into it every single day. I snuck out, in some way snuck back there and peed into it. And every day I would look at the drying stains on the cardboard, and I'd laugh.
This box.
I think that describes me pretty well. What about you?
Okay, me. This describes me pretty well. Danced with a special boy at a dance when I was visiting a high school.
Me.
And it wasn't Ed. That's a good fact. Bad fact. Pooped in a sink of a pool house where my grandma lived.
I got a better good fact.
With my sister.
I got a better good fact, bad fact for you. That describes you better.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good fact. If Danielle sees somebody being bothered by somebody in public, doesn't matter who the person is, it can be a giant grown man. If she sees that somebody is bothering somebody, especially a woman, she will go out and get in that person's face and tell them to fuck off. And say, is this person bothering you? Get out of here. Get out of here. And she will yell until the person leaves. This has happened multiple times. That's a good fact.
Oh.
Bad fact.
What?
The woman in the drive-thru at Burger King forgot the dipping syrup, the syrups for French toast sticks. So Danielle called her a cunt.
Can I say I was much younger, and I had asked her if the fucking syrup was in the bag, and she said yes. At that point in my life, I was not eating those without syrup, so I would get to work and I would have no syrup, and that was fucking bullshit. For Ed, I'm going to say the bad one came to mind immediately. He puts the toilet paper just the wrong way, and it's no big deal. He doesn't care.
Because I don't think that the toilet paper on the roll is the end-all be-all for toilet paper. I think it's much easier to put it somewhere and hold it in your hand and do this.
Yeah, he does
and
that.
And wipe and then put it back.
And then he puts it back on each time just the wrong way.
It doesn't matter because I'm always pulling it off of that damn thing.
But I'm reaching for it and I can't get it.
I think it's completely incorrect.
Okay, and then I'll do the good fact. So that was the bad fact. The good fact is he does everything and he holds the entire family together on his shoulders.
Bye, everybody.
Say bye, Minnie.